welcome to a detailed analysis of Five Nights at Freddy's, specifically the first installment of the series, which was released on August 8, 2014. The game was created by developer Scott Cawthon using the ClickTeam Fusion 2.5 game engine, and it was supposed to be his last game before ending his unsuccessful career as a game developer. He got the idea for a horror game after being criticized that his game Chipper and Sons Lumber Co. was too scary for a children's game, or that his characters moved like robots. Scott Cawthon used his mistakes to create Five Nights at Freddy's, a game where you are forced to sit motionless in an office, unable to escape, and can only use cameras to watch as plush monsters approach you, wanting to kill you. The game does not use explicit content, just the classic fear of something familiar. Yet at the same time, there is something strange and off-putting about the appearance of these animal mascots, and when it gets dark, the animatronics start to behave even more strangely. However, players began to discover that the game had more to offer than just an amazingly scary atmosphere, and so a legendary horror series was born. First, I would like to point out that not all of the materials and recordings used in this video are my own, and all sources are listed in the video description. The game welcomes you with a main menu. After pressing the new game option, you will see a newspaper ad circled in red, which welcomes you to the game's story. The ad states that the local restaurant Freddy Fazbear's Pizza is looking for a night guard to work from midnight to 6 a.m. and be responsible for monitoring the building and animatronic characters using a camera system. The game has a basic 5 nights as levels with 2 additional bonus levels. The game is a point-and-click survival horror, meaning that the gameplay involves you sitting in the role of a night watchman in an office and defending yourself against animatronics that will approach you. At the beginning of each of the 5 basic nights, the phone will ring. This is not a live call, but a recording of a man whom the community has named Phone Guy. He serves as a tutorial, telling you how to play the game, but also revealing certain parts of the story. The first night welcomes you to your new job. He says he used to work in the same office. At the time of recording these tapes, he is in his last week and is recording them for the person who will replace him the following week, namely you. First, he has to read you a welcome message from the company, which says, among other things, that if you die, a missing person report will be filed within 90 days, or as soon as all the premises have been cleaned and the carpets replaced. Sounds perfectly normal, right? He also informs you that the animatronics may little move around the restaurant at night. They have to be left on because their servo motors would lock up if they were turned off for too long. For this reason, they are left in a mode where they can move freely at night. Previously, they were reportedly able to move freely during the day as well, but this was prohibited after an incident known as the Bite of 87, when an animatronic apparently bit a customer in the head, causing the victim to lose part of their frontal lobe, that is, part of their brain. However, the victim was saved and survived. You can monitor the movements of the animatronics around the building using the camera system. The cameras have only one blind spot, the entrances to your office. On both sides of the office, you can see doors leading to the surrounding corridors, windows, and 2 pairs of buttons. The lower one turns on a light that allows you to check whether an animatronic that you cannot find on the cameras is standing in one of those blind spots. If one is standing there, close the security door with the second button. Animatronics should not enter the office, because if they see you after closing time, they will probably not recognize you as a human being, but rather as a bare metal endoskeleton rather than the internal skeleton of an animatronic, which allows the costume to move. In that case, they would try to force you into an animatronic suit, which would kill you, as the suits are full of mechanical parts. However, as you will later learn, this claim is probably a lie, as the camera in Parts and Service also shows a bare endoskeleton, and the animatronics do not pay any attention to it. However, you cannot keep the doors closed all the time. You must close them only when necessary, as the building has limited energy at night and these security doors consume energy when closed. You can check your energy status at the bottom left of the screen and the time and night you are in at the top right. On the first night, only the animatronics Bonnie and Chica are active. If you survive until 6 AM, you win and can continue to the next night. However, if you let the animatronics into your office, you will of course encounter a jump scare and lose, after which you must repeat the night. Second night. Once again, you listen to a recording of Phone Guy saying that he won't talk for as long today, as the animatronics seem to be more active as the week progresses, so he recommends that you watch the cameras while he talks to make sure everyone is in their place. Interestingly, Freddy Fazbear himself doesn't come off stage often and likes to stay in dark places. All the more reason not to use up your energy. He also tells you to check the pirate camera from time to time, as Foxy, the animatronic who is here, is more active when the camera isn't watching him. The second night is of course more difficult than the first. The animatronics are more aggressive, especially Foxy, who is much more active. Third night, Phone Guy congratulates you because apparently not many people last this long. He means that they went to work too, not that they died, of course. He says that if the animatronics catch you, you should try to play dead, although he doesn't know if it would work. Maybe then they would think you were a suit without an endoskeleton and try to get inside you. It's better not to get caught. On the third night, Freddy and the other animatronics become more active. Fourth night, Phone Guy says he doesn't know if he'll have time to record a tape for you tomorrow. While he's talking, you can hear banging on the door in the background. He says he's glad he recorded these messages for you and asks if you'd ever like to look at the suit in parts and service. He says he's always wondered what's inside those empty heads. Then you hear a lock being picked, shouting, and the tape ends. On the fourth night, the animatronic's aggression rises again. The fifth night. Today, surprisingly, the phone rings again. However, the call is not what you might expect. On the fifth night, the animatronics are even more aggressive than the night before. If you manage to finish the game tonight, congratulations. You have completed the basic part of the gameplay and will receive a payout, from which you can learn that the character you play in the game is named Mike Schmidt. You will also receive your first star in the main menu and unlock the 6th and 7th nights. The 6th night is much more challenging, as the animatronics are unusually active. If you complete this night, you will receive overtime pay and a 2nd star in the main menu. On the 7th night, or custom night, you can set the difficulty of the animatronics yourself. 0 is the minimum. The animatronics will not be active at all during the night. 20 is the maximum. When you complete this night, regardless of how you set the animatronics, you will learn that Mike Schmidt was fired for tampering with the animatronics, unprofessional behavior, and body odor. If you set the difficulty of all 4 animatronics to 20, the maximum in custom night, and beat the night, you will also earn the 3rd and final star. Bonnie is an animatronic character designed to look like a blue-purple rabbit with a red bow tie playing an electric guitar. Bonnie is usually the first animatronic to move and is most active during the first 2 nights. He always stays on the left side of the building and enters the office from the left side as well. Specifically, he moves between points on cameras 1A, 1B, 5, 2A, 2B, and 3. If Bonnie is nowhere to be seen on the cameras, he is probably already standing in front of the office door. This is his final position, and he attacks from there, so close to the door until he leaves and returns to the stage. Chica is supposed to resemble a yellow chicken wearing a cap with the words "Let's eat" on it. She holds a cupcake in her left hand, a duplicate of which can be seen on the table in the office. Chica moves around the right side of the restaurant and is more active than Bonnie later at night. You can see her on cameras 1A, 1B, 7, 4A, 4B, and she also passes through camera 6, SO the kitchen, where the camera is not working and you can only hear audio. You can tell that Chica is in the kitchen by the sound of dishes falling. In her final phase, you can see her behind the office window. If you don't close the door and let Chica or Bonnie come in, they will both act the same way. The lights and doors will stop working, and when you look at the cameras, the animatronic will jump scare you. If you still hear a strange breathing sound on the cameras while one of the animatronics is in the office, and if you don't take down the camera monitor yourself, the animatronic will violently tear you apart after a while, and you won't be able to prevent your demise. Freddy, whose full name is Freddy Fazbear, is a rotten bear with a black bow tie and a small black top hat. He is the main mascot of the restaurant that bears his name. As Phone Guy said, he likes to stay in the dark, which makes him harder to see on camera. However, you can find him by his glowing eyes, which are clearly visible. Look for him on cameras 1A, 1B, 7, 4A, 4B, and 6, where you can also hear his music box. Every time Freddy moves, you can hear him laughing, and if you watch him on the cameras, you will slow down his movement, which you should do, because once Freddy reaches the office, he will not come back. He does not stand by the door or window, but his last position before the attack is the corner of the right hallway, that is camera 4B. Freddy can only enter the office if the right door is open and you are looking at a camera other than 4B. If you are not on the cameras or looking at his camera, you can leave the door open, but if you need to look at other cameras, you must close the door. Freddy Fazbear is also an animatronic that will kill you if you run out of power. When this happens, Freddy will stand in the left door and you will hear his music box playing. After a while, everything will go dark and you will have no choice but to hope that it will strike 6 before it's too late. Foxy, sometimes called Foxy the Pirate, is a red fox with pirate accessories such as pants, an eye patch, and a hook instead of a right hand. He is the only animatronic in the game whose entire suit is damaged and torn. Cracks in his suit reveal his endoskeleton and many parts of his body. Foxy has his own small stage called Pirate's Cove, which is captured by camera 1C. There is a sign next to the stage that says "Sorry, out of order." Foxy also has the most different game mechanics from the other animatronics. He slowly crawls out from behind the Pirate's Cove screen. As Phone Guy says, you can slow Foxy's movement by looking at the cameras. You don't have to look at his camera, but you just need to have the camera monitor on. When Foxy escapes from Pirate's Cove, you only have a moment to close the door, as he will run across the left camera. When he attacks, you only have a moment to close the door, as he will run across the left hallway to your office. If you block his attack, Foxy will still bang on the door and take away some of your energy. His first attack takes away 1%, and each subsequent attack takes away 5% more than the previous one. That is 6% the second time, 11% the third time, and so on. Foxy can also sing. You may hear this sound randomly during the game. I can confirm that it is his voice, as this audio is called Pirate Song 2 in the game files. If the game hasn't disturbed you yet, it definitely will now. In the game, you can sometimes witness rare moments when the posters on the walls change their appearance. You can see the first such poster on camera to B. Under normal circumstances, it depicts Freddy Fazbear. However, sometimes it changes and Freddy looks like he's trying to break his neck. Other such posters can be seen on camera for A. Sometimes these animatronic posters change into posters with crying characters. Under normal circumstances, you can see a piece of paper with the words "Safety Rules" posted on camera for B. However, this paper is sometimes replaced by one of 4 different old newspaper articles explaining the history of the restaurant. I'll tell you more later. In the game, you may occasionally encounter a few other rare and rather disturbing moments. For example, sometimes the endoskeleton in Parts and Service, along with all the animatronics replacement heads, may look directly into the camera. Also, when you start the game, before you are taken to the main menu, there is a 1 in 1,000 chance of seeing Bonnie without eyes. Instead of eyes, 2 white dots will appear after a moment, and then you will be taken to the menu. This secret may be very reminiscent of the moment when Bonnie in Parts and Service looks closely into the camera. However, there are even more disturbing phenomena in the game. From time to time, you may experience visions in the game where strange images of Freddy and Bonnie flash rapidly on the screen, accompanied by the text, "It's me." Also, when Foxy leaves Pirate's Cove, the sign "Out of Order" may change to "It's me," and the aforementioned posters may disappear, replaced by bloody signs reading, "It's me." Golden Freddy is the 5th animatronic in the game, but it is more of a secret as its appearance is completely random. It looks identical to Freddy, but is yellow and has no eyes. You can expect its arrival when the Freddy poster on camera 1B changes to a Golden Freddy poster, accompanied by the laughter of a little girl. When you take off the camera monitor, Golden Freddy will be sitting right in front of you in the office, accompanied by hallucinations of "It's me." If you don't put the camera monitor back on, Golden Freddy will jump scare you and the game will crash. Very rarely, his unexpected jump scare may also surprise you when you lose on the game over screen. The chance of this happening is 1 in 10,000. You can even trigger his jump scare by playing Custom Night on the 1987 animatronic difficulty level. There is a funny story behind this Easter egg. At first, it was just a hoax in the community. People believed that such a secret was in the game, but it wasn't yet. They kept trying even though it didn't work. Scott Cawthon found out about it and at the community's request added this Easter egg to the game. If you press and hold the C, D, and plus keys on the numeric keypad in sequence, you will immediately skip the night you are currently in. In the office, you can see a poster hanging on the wall with the word "Celebrate" written on it, showing animatronics on stage. However, this poster hides a nice Easter egg. Five Nights at Freddy's has an original story that continues to develop to this day. I would like to point out that if you feel that some information is missing or inaccurate, I did so intentionally. In these analyses, I always work only with information provided by this game or titles released before it. It's as if we've been transported back to the time when the game was released. I do this in order to gradually reintroduce people to old information that is taken as the basis for solving current issues in the series. Five Nights at Freddy's is so extensive today that newcomers can easily get lost in it and feel like they will never learn all the information. That's what these analyses are for. I make them so that even people who are new to FNF and would like to understand the story can understand them. The theories I will present in these analyses are my own opinion of the story. Yours may be different, of course, but I hope that mine will make more sense with each subsequent analysis. We can determine when the game takes place from the payout. The date on the right side of the game indicates that it takes place in early November, but the exact year is not specified. Nevertheless, we can still determine it. The first paycheck after completing the 5th night is $120. We divide $120 by 5 working days, then by 6 hours per shift, and we get that this job pays $4 per hour. According to the internet, $4 per hour was the minimum wage in the United States from 1993 to 1995. We will assume that FNAF 1 takes place in 1993, as the story the game tells is inspired by a real incident. The concept of Five Nights at Freddy's is inspired by real restaurant chains with animatronic characters, such as Showbiz Pizza Place or Chuck E. Cheese's. However, most of these restaurants are now a thing of the past. However, an incident occurred at one of the old Chuck E. Cheese's branches that is quite interesting to us. It is called the 1993 Aurora shooting. In 1993, in the city of Aurora, Colorado, former restaurant restaurant employee Nathan Dunlap seriously injured one and shot 4 other employees who were preparing the restaurant for another day of business in the morning. Dunlap was later sentenced to death. You may notice that, as in Harry's story, there were 5 victims here, and it is possible that this was the direct source of inspiration. Because of this connection, we will assume that FNAF 1 takes place in 1993. Not only do you earn a miserable wage for this night watchman job, but your life is also at risk. The animatronic characters can move freely at night and are even aggressive towards you, but why? The answer is simple. The children's bodies were hidden in the animatronic suits, and their souls possessed them. Now they crave revenge. They want you to die the same way they did. The reason they attacked the security guard may be that the killer was also an employee of the restaurant, probably also a security guard. He must have had some access to the suit he used. Since then, the animatronics have been attacking security guards, and the company has had to install security doors in the office as a defense. You may still be wondering who the killer is and who the phone guy is. The phone guy is a character whose identity we still don't know, and he is more of a secondary character. He is probably just one of the higher ranking employees at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, and as we know from the recording, from the 4th night, the animatronics eventually killed him too. He probably refers to the suits and parts and service in his recording because he knows he is going to die and wants his body to be found. Our security guard, Mike, and phone guy are not the killer, as some may think. In the first episode, the main antagonist of the series has not yet been introduced. Phone Guy mentions an incident in which an animatronic attacked a person and bit into their head, causing the victim to lose their frontal lobe but survive. Because of this incident, the free movement of animatronics around the building during the day was restricted. So we know that this incident took place in 1987, but which animatronic caused it? The 3 most likely possibilities are Foxy, as he has the sharpest teeth and there is a sign saying "out of order" next to the pirate. Perhaps he was taken out of service because of this incident. Freddy, because the safety rules say do not touch Freddy. However, the rules do not mention the other animatronics. If you look closely, you can see that Freddy has 2 human handprints on his face. Perhaps someone tried to defend themselves against him. The community has also pointed out that the position of the prints almost matches the position of Freddy's hands on this poster. However, Freddy only has 4 fingers, while the print has 5. This is a very disturbing detail, but the most likely possibility is that these prints belong to a technician who manipulated the head. Golden Freddy. Perhaps the quote is meant to refer to this incident. And what about the Easter egg in Custom Night? Golden Freddy also has the same fingerprints as Freddy, but that's because they have the same texture. The real answer to who caused the bite of 87 will only be revealed by a detailed analysis of Five Nights at Freddy's 2, and it wasn't any of the ones mentioned. Finally, I have a few interesting facts about the game for you. Before the release of FNAF 1 teaser and 2 trailers were released. The first is a classic teaser trailer. The second is a 2-minute trailer showing gameplay, which was released about a month after the first trailer and about a month before the game's release. We could also talk a little more about the animatronics. Scott knew from the beginning what the main trio would look like, but he wasn't sure about the 4th character. He was deciding between a fox, a wolf, or a beaver. In the end, he chose the fox, but he later introduced animal animatronics resembling a wolf and a beaver into the series. In the trailer, we can see Bonnie running down the hallway and taking off his mask, but in the game, we don't see him doing either of these things. Moreover, the only animatronic that can run in the game is Foxy. Scott Cawthon later announced that he did this in order to keep Foxy as a surprise for the full game. These animations were therefore created solely for the purposes of the trailer. Probably the reason why Bonnie appears most in the trailer, despite Freddy being the main character, is that Scott Cawthon himself considers him to be the scariest of the 4. You may be wondering whether the call on the 5th night is some kind of hidden message. We have managed to decipher the voice we can hear. It is an edited backwards voice clip from the 1946 book Autobiography of a Yogi, written by Paramanjo Yogananda. Here's a recording of the 5th call, edited so that it can be understood. Scott Cawthon purchased or downloaded this sound from a sound effects website, along with many other sounds, so it's just sound design. The sound had to be created somehow. For example, most violent sound effects, such as stabbing and breaking bones, are created by breaking and destroying vegetables in various ways. So why not create the sound effect of scary, incomprehensible speech by taking a book you're currently reading, recording an excerpt from it, and then editing it in post-production? This is just a guess as to how the sound might have been created, but I think you get my point. We are at the end of this video. The next analysis will be about Five Nights at Freddy's 2, the sequel to the first installment, which further expands on the idea introduced by this game. I hope you enjoyed the analysis. Take care and see you next time. Bye.